Hey y'all, good morning. So, I'm realizing that even with media coverage, that there's a lot of misinformation still out there, and there's still a lot of questions that everybody has, and I keep getting asked the same questions, messages and comments on different posts. So, I wanted to put a video together that really went over our whole story in our perspective from start to finish so that people can come and get their questions answered and have just the whole story together, because I feel like that's what is needed, because media is not covering the whole thing and we're repeating ourselves, and I just want everything to be together and solid. Hi everybody, thanks for joining. So, to start, I've seen a lot of places where it said that he was sick for 3 weeks before we took him to the doctor, and that is far from true. He actually went to school at my mom's daycare with me the Friday before he was diagnosed. So that would have been impossible. He wouldn't have been allowed to go to school if he was sick for 3 weeks before then. So I just wanted to go ahead and clear that up because that was a bunch of misinformation. And then what happened is over the weekend he was okay. We were together, we were playing, and Monday he started acting just really tired and he just wanted to lay in bed all day. And that is not normal for him. If you know him in real life, you know that he is an extremely high energy child. He is not the kind of kid that's going to lay in bed all day. He doesn't even want to sit down and just watch a movie. He wants to go outside. He wants to be in the dirt. And he wants to play all day long until he drops at like midnight and not even take a nap in between there. So very abnormal for him. And the next day, he was the same. We were kind of thinking that he had mono. So we ended up taking him in on Wednesday, and we took him to the after hours pediatrics to see what it was. Figured they'd probably prescribe antibiotics or something like that. And the doctor was in agreement with us. And he said, you know what, I'm going to send you for blood work over to the local ER across the street because we can't do blood work here, and I don't want you guys going home tonight and it be something else, and it wasn't taken care of. So that's what we did. We went to the ER across the street, and they were just monitoring him, didn't immediately hook him up to anything, just did some blood work. They did an x-ray to see if his liver and his spleen, they felt enlarged on palpation. So they checked that to see what was going on in there, and it was just slightly enlarged. And then they came back and said that his hemoglobin was at a 2, and he had hardly any platelets, so they were going to have to transfer him, Bayflight him, down to Johns Hopkins Hospital for transfusions. So we got all set up for that, and his dad and I drove down to Johns Hopkins. He was Bayflighted. We couldn't go in the helicopter with him. And when we got there, he had only been there for like 10 minutes. And it took almost, I don't remember if it was 5 to 7 hours before his first transfusion, when we were told that it was severely and he needed blood right away. We're like, okay, so why is he not getting blood? We know what his blood type is. You've already matched it. Why is he not getting this blood? And then when he got his first transfusion, he actually spiked a fever, very high fever, and had a reaction, so they had to pull it and flush his body anyways. So then it took about another 4 hours to actually get a transfusion fully in him for the next one. So it took 4 hours to start another one. It was so ridiculous because we were like, we want to help our baby, and this feels like it's taking forever when he's in the PICU. Like, can't we speed something up? And then the next day, after 2 transfusions, they came and diagnosed him with acute lymphoblastic leukemia and said that they needed to start chemo right away. And we ended up starting on Monday. after that weekend. He was diagnosed on Thursday. So just trying to give you a timeline of where it's at. He was diagnosed on Thursday. Then Friday, they did the bone marrow biopsy to confirm. And then on Monday, they started treatment with vincristine, the beginning of induction, they call it. And within 3 days from that first treatment, he had no blast to be found in his blood, and consistently until we were discharged. Yes, I said discharged. We didn't leave AMA like many media sources are posting us to be. We were discharged on Tuesday. We were supposed to be discharged on Monday, but they didn't discharge us until 5. And we said, well, we're not going to go home in rush hour traffic after he's just been through all of this. That's silly. So let's just stay and be discharged in the morning. And so that's what they did. We have medical paperwork saying that. And up until that time, when we were discharged, he still had no cancer cells to be found in his blood. And we had so many problems at Johns Hopkins Hospital when we were there, as far as control, cleanliness, rude doctors, lack of communication with us, with staff to staff, them not understanding each other, and getting miscommunication issues all. It was just an absolute mess. And to leave it at that, when we were discharged, there's a bell that you ring on the 7th floor when you leave. It really helps the kids with realizing that they get to go home. I mean, some kids are there for months, years, whatever, so it's really a huge mark to be able to ring that bell. I mean, Noah was only there 10 days, but he wanted to ring the bell. And it fell on him. It fell off the wall and fell onto his head and his arm. He actually had a bruise from it that I have a picture of. Right across his arm. And we were like, that's great. That's really great, guys. You did a good job. And then we leave, and we had told them when we were there that we would be seeking a different opinion on his protocol because we were not comfortable with the protocol that they had, and seeing as he was doing so well, we wanted him to be seen by a different doctor. And not only that, not even regarding treatment, we were not happy with Johns Hopkins staff to begin with. So we didn't want to keep taking our child there. If it was going to be the 3 years of treatment, we didn't want them being the main orchestrators of that regardless. So that was the big thing. We told them in the hospital we were going to get a second opinion, and we were actively seeking it already. Then Friday, we go back into Johns Hopkins Outpatient Center in Tampa, and they check his blood work. They see that his platelets are slightly low, but they wouldn't give a transfusion because it wasn't fully low enough to give a transfusion. Whatever. We requested it, but they didn't want to do it. So, anyways, everything else was good. Still no blast in his blood. And then we told them on Friday that we think that we found a doctor, but we have to confirm with him today on the phone that he will begin to start seeing Noah. And they said, okay, just let us know. And then on Monday, we called when our appointment time was supposed to be scheduled for 9 a.m. We called Nancy, the social worker, and we called scheduling, and I spoke to Robin, the nurse, on the phone as well. So 3 different people should be able to verify that we called and let them know that we have set up an appointment with another doctor for a second opinion, and we no longer require their services. And instead of accepting that answer, they called us about 1,000 times Monday and Tuesday. And we were like, this is insane. This is terrifying. And we talked to a lawyer, not the lawyer that we have now, but a lawyer. And he said, just stop answering their calls and go get your freaking second opinion. Like, you have every right to do that. You don't have to answer to them. They're trying to push their services and they're harassing you. And we were like, you know what? You're right. We're going to go get that second opinion. And so we did. And we left. And we went up to Kentucky, and yes, we did leave my car. Yes, we turned off our phones because we felt so intimidated that we knew that they were going to follow us and they were going to be crazy, and we just wanted the time to get that second opinion. We wanted our space, we wanted our time to do that, and we were well on our way to do that. And before we even got to see the other doctor, they came knocking on our hotel room. So it was so insane how they made us look like criminals because we were actively seeking treatment, and instead they want to make it look like we were arrested and we had all these charges pending against us, when actually we were never arrested. The Kentucky sheriff's office that came, I believe it was Scott County and Georgetown PD that came, if I'm remembering that correctly, and they were absolutely so nice, so nice. They were totally in agreement with us, and I really applaud them for everything that they tried to do to help us. I showed them my journal. I had been keeping evidence on everything that had happened from the start of his diagnosis to that very day. I was keeping track of everything he was eating, the medications he was taking, what we were giving him, the people that we had called, and all of these things that are so vital to know. And obviously we were not neglecting him. You can see how well he was eating, see how he was thriving. I kept notes on his behavior. I kept notes on his sleep, on his urine and other output as far as using the restroom. I kept all of that. So in no way were we neglectful at all. And yeah, when they came, they were very helpful. They wanted to be on our side, and they were just going to place him in the care of the Kentucky CPS, whatever they're called, whatever their department is called. And they were just going to place him in the care of them until he could get back down to Florida. We actually requested that he be taken to the hospital and that his blood work be monitored and make sure, see where he's at, and realize how well he's doing. Because they just wanted to come get EMS check up on him and call it a day and put him with CPS. And we were like, no, he needs to go to the hospital. We want to see his lab results. If we're going to be accused of being neglected, we want to see those lab results. And guess what those lab results said? They said no blast. They said like a 10 hemoglobin. They said platelets, 330,000 platelets or something like that. And just amazing. Everything was amazing. His nutrient levels, he had no deficiencies, nothing. So he was absolutely thriving. And they were claiming that he was gravely ill and in need of life-saving medical care. Okay. And they didn't administer any treatment at the hospital other than some antibiotics, because while we were there, he got nipped by a dog, and just on his hand and then on top of his ear, barely broke the skin, but they said that just preventatively, and we allowed that. We consented to that, no problem. But we were kicked out of that hospital, the University of Kentucky Chandler Hospital, because we were complaining because we found a bloody syringe that was not Noah's blood. It was old blood, clearly, under his bed in the hospital. And there was a sharp nail found outside of his hospital room door that a child could have stepped on and severely injured themselves on. And there was a shared patient bathroom. I just want to clear this up because people were like, oh, why was there urine and feces all over his bathroom if he's healthy? No, it was a shared patient bathroom for the whole floor. And it was absolutely disgusting. There was poop, pee all over the place, and we brought it to the head nurse's attention. He said, oh, I'll get somebody to clean it right away. 3 hours later, where's the person that was supposed to clean that? Oh, I'm sorry, I'll call them back. No, that's the same. They never came. They never came at all. And so after that, they kicked us out. They claimed that they had an emergency protective order for the state of Kentucky now, not just for the state of Florida, but the state of Kentucky. And they came and they kicked us out, treated us like total criminals. They walked us like all the way to the other corner. It was like, have a good day, guys, with all of our stuff on our back, super heavy. And we had nowhere to go. Like, we didn't know we were going to get kicked out. We had our ride set up for later because we knew that we were going to leave when he had to be taken to the airport. But we didn't have it set up for then. And, so after that, we found out that he was discharged from that hospital without us being notified right after we left and placed in a foster home. So tell me how dire his medical situation was. If they're willing to take him from the hospital where he was supposed to stay all night and receive his life-saving treatment, and instead they put him in a foster home without letting us know. And anyways, that morning after, so this is Tuesday night, we separated from him, and Wednesday he flew back down to Florida with the Florida CPS agent, which she is very nice. She's very nice. And then he was put into Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital again to be monitored. And upon the day of admission at 6:23 p.m. was the only blood draw that they would do on him, and that indicated still no cancer cells. Hemoglobin was increasing, and his platelets were still great. So all of his lab results were perfect. They didn't do any further blood draws after that, and when I asked them why, when we got to go visit him at the hospital on Friday, they said, oh, well, everything looks great, so there's reason to do another one. And I'm like, oh, you mean you don't want to continue to show that his lab results are good? You don't need to make sure that he's not in need of life-saving treatment, and you don't need to make sure that he's dying because of the risk that we put him at, you know? And she's like, oh, no, there's no reason to keep doing bloods. But when we were there the first time, they would keep doing bloods, like 2-3 times a day easily. So why are you not doing bloods now? Because you know that it'll make you look bad? So I also requested that another bone marrow aspirate be done, because I want to see where his bone marrow is at, because everybody's telling me, well, the blood results don't indicate anything. I'm like, okay, then let's see the bone marrow. Let's see where that's at. And they're like, no, we're not going to do the bone marrow. That's highly not recommended. And I'm like, really? Because he was scheduled for one when we were initially doing the treatment for next Tuesday. So why are we not doing that next Tuesday? I want to see where his results are without your chemotherapy protocol. I want to see where they're at now, because his blood's great. So why can't we see what his bone marrow is now? Because you're scared that you're going to be proven right, or what? But anyways, the doctor that we have set up for his appointment on Monday for the second opinion, he is willing to do a bone marrow aspirate as far as we know. So that is going to happen, and we're going to see where that's at. And we really hope that everybody is going to comply with the doctor's appointment on Monday, because I still haven't heard back from the CPI agent that is running the whole case, that initiated the whole missing persons event and all that stuff. I still haven't heard back from her, and she said she needs 24-hour notice. So we're just going to keep calling and messaging her, because he needs to get to that appointment, because we have a legal right ordered by a judge to receive a second opinion on his treatment protocol. And just to be clear, we're not trying to treat him with just vitamins, supplements, some certain type of food or magical tea, or even just fairy dust and prayer. That is not what we're trying to treat him with at all. We're trying to treat him with proven protocols, with high amounts of oxidization, with high amounts of intravenous vitamins, not just vitamins that you digest and they come right out, you pee them right out, because that happens all the time. Vitamins are not totally effective, especially when you get just like Walmart brand or whatever, and you don't really know what you're looking for, because I feel like that's how people look at us, that we're just going to Walmart, buying a vitamin B complex and calling it a day, when that is not the case whatsoever. We would like intravenous vitamins, which are shown to be highly effective in removing cancer, and building up the immune system without killing the body and having all the toxic side effects that chemotherapy does have. And we would like him to be home because simply the environment that you're in, there are studies showing that children and other patients that are put into more stressful situations, they have more anxiety, they have less support, they tend to have more depression, and they tend to have worse outcomes. They have more death than other cancer patients. So essentially, the state is killing my child right now, and we are going to hold them fully responsible for it, and we are going to hold Johns Hopkins fully responsible for it as well, for any treatment that they give him without our express consent, because right now they do not have our consent to do anything, and they have already administered steroids without our permission. So that is all being notated and all being taken into account by my lawyer. So I hope that the legal representative for Johns Hopkins takes that into consideration, because steroids are not life-saving. They're not doing anything for him except preparing him for chemotherapy. And if he's not going to receive chemotherapy, then why are you giving it to him? Because it makes his little body really upset. It makes him really upset. It makes his mood swings ridiculous and violent. And we don't want to see our little boy like that. And the fact that we can only see him once a week for 2 hours, that has to be killing him, because we are with him all the time. I work as a birth doula, and I'm not gone all the time. I'm not gone 9 to 5 and then come back, make him dinner, and put him into bed. It's not like that whatsoever. I'm with him every day almost, except when I'm at a birth. And every night when he goes to sleep, he's either with mom or dad or a close family member. And we hardly leave him with family members. So imagine what is going through his little mind right now, feeling like he hasn't seen his mom and dad, and why are they not around, and why are they abandoning me? What did I do wrong? You know? He just wants to be healthy, and he'll tell you that. And at the hospital, he kept telling me, he was like, Mommy and Daddy, I've been crying and screaming for you. And they hadn't even taken him out of the bed for 2 days. He's been sitting in the bed, and they've been changing his diapers. When this kid is fully potty trained, he does not need to be in diapers all day long to have to go to the bathroom. He's not been in diapers for a year, except overnight. It's absolutely ridiculous. And they just put his toys in the bed. He has the crib bed where he can't get out. He can't move around his room. He can't go to the window and watch the helicopters and the planes fly in. He can't do any of that like we were doing with him. He can't go watch the sunset outside his window that he loves to watch. He loves to watch the sky change colors. And they didn't allow him to do any of that. And when we got to take him outside, when we were there visiting him for 2 hours, we had security on top of it the whole time, from the parking lot to the time that we left the parking lot, which was insane, because we have never been violent with anybody. And in this whole process, when the cops came in Kentucky to when we left, at no point did we ever raise our voice. At no point did we show any kind of resistance, any kind of threats, any of that. We have been very peaceful and just trying to figure out what the hell is going on, because our kid should not be away from us, and we were not neglecting our kid. So it was just appalling, and he was so excited to be outside. He was like, lizards, plants, garden, sunshine, yay, I get to run around and have a great time. And we're like, why the hell is he trapped inside right now? Why is he being trapped inside? Why is no one taking him outside every day like we did when we were there? If he's not going to receive the same state of care that we were providing for him when he was with us, why is he being separated from us? You should be providing the same standard of care. There should be a CPI agent in there every day, taking him outside and making sure that he gets to have fun and not be trapped inside of his room for 2 days and getting pale, and getting pressed, and having nobody to play with, and having nothing to do except sit there and watch TV. That's not our kid. That's not what he does. That is how you kill a child. It is so insane to me that this is like this. That you say you want the best interest of the child, and you take him away from all of the things that he loves. That is absurd. So anyways, I just wanted to get that out there and correct any misinformation and make it known to the state and Johns Hopkins and Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office that they made a big mistake, and we're not going to be quiet about it. And I keep talking about this. Some people have advised me, you should stay off social media because they're watching you. I'm glad they're watching me because I have nothing to hide. Go ahead and share what I have to say. Go ahead and document all of it, because everything I'm saying is the truth, and everything that you are saying doesn't add up. And people are seeing that. And even the judge saw that, I feel like, because she was like, something's not right here. You could see it on her face. And that's why she gave us opportunity for a second opinion. Because the media slandered us. The media made it look like we were neglectful criminals. And then when we were talking, when our lawyer was talking, and he was asking the other party questions, you could see it on her face. She was like, this doesn't make sense. This isn't what it was portrayed out to be. And we're like, yeah. And the media, even though they won't cover it, when they interview us and we say the truth and what I've told you here today, they're like, wow, what? I didn't know that. I can't believe they did that. That doesn't make sense. So why did they take your kid? I had a lady from CNN that was interviewing me and listening to my whole story, and at the end of it, she was like, so, wait, I don't understand. Why did they take your child? And I'm like, right? I don't know either. But yeah, I just wanted to get that story out there because it's important that everybody knows from our side so that they can differentiate for themselves what the truth is. I'm not telling you that you have to believe me, but I want to give you a different perspective than what the media is showing, because the media is only showing this much when there's a much bigger picture. So, thanks for joining us, and feel free to ask any other questions that I didn't clarify on, but I hope that clears up a lot of misinformation and that more people understand our side of the story, and this can humanize me, and you cannot just see a picture of my driver's license posted all around the world where I'm like 30 weeks pregnant with twins. I have a huge, like, bulky face, and I'm just like, because I hate that picture. And then they made my husband look like a terrorist, pretty much. So I wanted to humanize us and talk to you guys personally and get our story out there. So I really appreciate you guys joining us, and thanks for everybody who came to the rally yesterday and supported us. So, thanks again. I really appreciate all your guys' support, and it's needed, and we need to keep talking about it because this is happening. I encourage anybody who hasn't heard of medical kidnapping before to research it. Look up Alfie Evans. He was in the UK, I believe, and the hospital took him off life support without his parents' permission, and he died. That's medical kidnapping. And I encourage you to look at Sydney and Mark. And that was also a case of medical kidnapping where they were trying to treat him with cannabis oil for his seizures, and they took him from them and was dosing him up with opioids, and he was just having a horrible response to it. So medical kidnapping is happening all over the place. And if you look up the documentary Flipping the Script, When Parents Fight Back, that is also a great documentary to look at medical kidnapping, especially in regards to cancer. That's what it's all about. Because chemotherapy is not the only option, and we're not trying to just not treat our kid and refuse all treatment and hate on all the doctors, because we understand that the doctors want to protect their paycheck because they have insane mortgages, they have insane malpractice insurance. So we get that you got to protect that, but listen, we got to protect our kid more than we protect you and bow down to you. So we're not concerned about your license or anything like that, and we're coming for it. So get ready. So yeah, I'll go ahead and get off my soapbox. And thanks for joining us and listening.